Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic 1.6 SR Tourer, or Estate in any other language. This particular car is registered RV15UKH, and with a mileage of 54,220 currently recorded. The reason for doing the videos, and as I always say, especially this road test section, is very simple. It's to ensure that if anyone is online looking at any of our cars, they get to see the car in operation. Reason being that, like so many people, we've been to see cars which have looked perfectly good in photographs and descriptions, but only to get there and find out it's got a fundamental issue that shows up whilst driving the car. So hence that's why we do it. Also done on these very quiet country roads very close to our premises, and this actually forms part of the road test route we take our customers on. So hopefully then it'll be representative of what you'd feel yourself should you be offered a test drive in the car. So coming to the car, very well looked after vehicle, as you'd expect of any Honda car. Turn the key, starts instantly and settles to smooth, even idle, without any warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the car. The engines are brilliant diesels. It's in operation, smooth, quiet, especially on a cruise. Pulls beautifully through the whole of the rev range of the car. It's got real guts to it. Only noticeably a diesel when you're sort of low speed and idle, because even Honda can't engineer that out. It's a characteristic of diesel. But as a diesel engine, it's lovely. It's obviously being a Honda, they're incredibly tough and reliable if regularly maintained. But also the fuel economy you can get at them is amazing, and it's actually pretty easily achieved. Too many diesels you get into, you've got to really nurse them to get any kind of decent fuel economy. I've owned numerous of these, and even doing short trips I'll be high 50s, 60 to the gallon, longer trips up to 70. So it is eminently achievable. So without having to sort of spoil the day by kind of just trickling along at sort of low speed. Engine then feeds through into clutch and gearbox. Clutch on the car, absolutely perfect. Bike point exactly where it's meant to be, and it's lovely and smooth in operation. Gearbox, again, it's just a fantastic gearbox. Honda do these absolutely brilliantly. Even though it's cable operated, as pretty much all front wheel drive cars are these days, it feels incredibly mechanical. It's got a lovely meaty feel to it. The engagement's really nice in every gear. Synchro mesh is beautifully judged, and they're very, very tough indeed. And that feels exactly as it would have done when it was new, in all honesty. Coming to the steering of the car, again, one of the great strengths of the car is the steering and the chassis, because it's just such a lovely car to drive for those that just want to plod along, and for those who've got a bit of the old petrol head in them still, like to sort of hustle the car along, because it responds beautifully. It's really nicely weighted. It's not over light, which I hate on cars. It's got a feeling that you're attached to the car. Very precise and accurate in operation. And it works beautifully with the chassis. All comes together as one, and it feels as tight as drum on the road. It tracks absolutely dead straight. There's no vibrations at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit. But the chassis works with it superbly, because going through corners, it flows, it corners flat. The enthusiasts love these cars. It's still a car that you can get in and enjoy driving, yet it also offers a very comfortable ride. Helped by the fact that with the SR, one of these top spec cars, you get the adjustable rear dampers. So you get 3 settings. You get comfort, normal and sport, I think, from memory. So I'm currently in comfort. Press that, or dynamic, that's the word I'm just looking for. Dynamic stiffens it up and it's noticeable. And then normal, somewhere in between the two, and comfort. Being an old man with bad joints, I tend to spend most of my time on the ones I've had in comfort. Only if I'm really on the open road and pushing along, well, I tend to sort of go with one of the other two. But it's a nice feature to have on the car. Also, by the way, when driving the vehicle, I'm listening out for any kind of clonks or rattles coming from underneath the car that shouldn't be there, and there's absolutely nothing at all. It's solid as a rock. Just going to get up to speed and give the brakes a good old shove, make sure no one is directly behind me, and I certainly don't want to do it in front of the oncoming bin lorry. So just go around the corner, and then no one there. Really good, enough to get the hazard lights to come on as well, which it does under heavy braking. Really powerful brakes, no pulsing, no vibrations, nothing at all, absolutely spot on. Worth pointing out, all those things and everything else will be checked. It's going to be going for an independent MOT, hopefully the next couple of days, so all these things will be checked anyway. It's finally coming inside the car. The first thing that you're aware of with any Honda pretty much is just how well put together they are. They are beautifully made cars. Quite often estate cars can be little rattle boxes, and I've been in some so-called premium cars, and they rattle and crone and creak even after relatively sort of low mileage, and yet you can hear nothing in this at all. It's just beautifully put together. But it's also just a fantastic interior design, because it all works. It's not just a gimmick. It looks fantastic in my eyes. I readily admit, and I always say, is opinion, because at the end of the day, some people love the interior and some people don't. But I think that's a really good design, because it does polarize opinion, and rightly so. What I love about it is the fact that it is beautifully built. You've got fantastic driving position. The switchgear you operate feels lovely to touch and actuate, because it's got this really wonderful kind of tactile quality to every button. It's sort of precision made, it is. Sat nav, you can see they're working perfectly, because this is the most sort of normal, if you like, part of the dashboard in some ways. Down below that, you've got your climate control panel, which obviously gives you different temperatures side to side. Pumps out lovely cold air, by the way. Heated seats again, likewise, work perfectly. But then you get this brilliant two-tier design, because it is genius. It's not just for show. As I say, in my eyes, I think fantastic, especially at night when it's all illuminated. But the upper deck is basically the information you're going to look at most regularly when you're driving along. Honda didn't want you looking down into the bowels of the car, taking your eyes off the road. So if you do things like change fan speed there, or change your radio settings, it displays down there, but also high up and bigger up in the upper display there. So this got something caught under the mat. But the most regularly looked at one, of course, is the speedo, and there it is, massive, bold, by itself, easily read. It's genius. So I can look ahead at the oncoming lorry, pedestrians, cyclists, whatever, but keep my eye on my speed at all times. It's simply brilliant. And as I always say, I think Honda went backwards with the next generation in terms of, it's still good, but it's down in a normal conventional pod now, but in amongst other displays. And for those who have not seen this, they'll think it's fine. For those who have had these, it's not as good. It's not as good. I hope Honda go back again. Down below that, you've got these more conventional dials, as I said. You've got big rev counter in the middle, flanked either side by fuel gauge and temperature gauge. Temperature gauge, by the way, running as a third, which is exactly where it's meant to be on a Honda vehicle. Nice thick rim steering wheel, leather bound, feels like new to hold. All the functions working exactly as it should. It really is a lovely car. These are genuinely, it's not just sales spin, they are very sought after. The high spec ones in particular. The Taurus, they are expensive compared to other manufacturers, but rightly so in my opinion, because it's worth every penny. And as I said before, I can find nothing wrong on this car at all. Drives absolutely beautifully.